the echoes of life. The first thing that Evelyn remembered about her childhood was the sound of the sea. It had a voice of its own, a constant whisper that carried secrets only the wind and waves could understand. She grew up in a small coastal town yet deeply woven with emotions that ebbed and flowed like the tides. Her father, a fisherman, would leave before dawn, his silhouette barely visible against the horizon, and return by dusk with stories of the ocean's generosity or its indifference. Her mother, a woman of quiet strength, kept the house in order and their small garden flourishing. To Evelyn, vast and limitless, yet comfortably familiar. As she grew older, she began to notice the subtleties of life. The way the sun painted the sky in hues of gold and lavender, the laughter of children echoing down the narrow streets, the sadness in her mother's eyes when her father was gone too long. Life, she realized, existing. It was about feeling, understanding, and embracing the tides of joy and sorrow. At 18, she left her town for university in the city, her heart torn between the thrill of discovery and the pang of leaving behind the only home she had ever known. The city was alive in a different way. Bustling streets, neon lights, and an energy that never slept. Herself drawn to literature, immersing in the words of poets and philosophers who seemed to echo her own thoughts. It was in a quiet corner of the university library that she met Daniel. He had a mind that challenged hers, and a heart that understood her silences. They spent countless nights discussing life's mysteries, their dreams stretching beyond the pages of their books. He wanted to be a musician, wanted to be a writer. Together, they believed in infinite possibilities. But life, as it often does, had its own plans. Evelyn received news that her father had fallen ill. She rushed back home, the journey feeling longer than it ever had before. Seeing her once strong father confined to a bed was a stark reminder of life's fragility. Days turned into weeks and months. She stayed, unable to leave, unable to abandon the man who had taught her the language of the sea. Daniel visited, promising they would find a way to make things work, but the distance between them grew, stretched thin by time and responsibility. One day, she received a letter, his farewell, filled with words that tried to soften the inevitable. She wept, but she understood. Years passed. Evelyn remained in her town, taking over her father's small bookstore after he passed away. It wasn't the life she had imagined, yet it was a life that had meaning. She found solace in the books she read and the people she met. She became the quiet observer, understanding that every life, no matter how small or vast, had a purpose. One day, as she was closing the store, she heard a familiar tune drifting through the air. She turned to find Daniel standing there, older, changed, yet still the same. He had returned, not expecting anything, but simply hoping. And in that moment, he murmured its eternal song. She realized that life was not about the dreams one leaves behind, but the ones that find their way back to you. And so, with the waves as their witness, their story continued imperfect, unpredictable, but deeply, profoundly alive.